Hi, everybody. It's so good to have you here. This Facebook Live will last about 30 minutes, and we're going to talk about stress and home office. Our special guest today is a global HR expert, visionary, and progressive leader from Ecuador. If you want to find out more about our Facebook Lives, I'm going to put down the link below so you can sign up. And remember, most of them are in Spanish, but from time to time I do them also in English. And I want to remind you that my company, Excede tu Potencial, has the purpose of helping companies minimizing the effects of the invisible enemy of stress, responsible of many issues at the company. As a transformational coach, I also help successful professionals to release their inner mental jail built throughout their life so they can find a balance and fulfillment that they are looking for. So, today, our special guest is Maritza Ulestia. She's a global HR expert, visionary, and progressive leader. She's from Ecuador and currently lives in the US, where she founded My Purpose. She helps people and businesses understand what truly matters to them so that they can establish sustainable and successful paths going forward. Maritza, it's a pleasure to have you here again. We did this amazing Facebook Live in Spanish last week with the same topic. So today, thanks to our audience that wanted this one as well in English, we're doing it. So, Maritza, if you want to share some words with our audience today, please.
Hi, thank you, Anna Stephanie, for inviting me. It's very wonderful to be working with you again. We go way back, so it's a great reunion. And today I'm really happy to be able to share with you one of my passions. My purpose is actually a personal project that I have on helping people become more self aware. And I thought that this topic was really interesting based on the experiences that we have been while we have been quarantined because of COVID. Because, like it or not, a lot of us have been forced to be working in home office. So, in addition to my project, I also work for a multinational company, and I was one of the ones that was forced to actually work from home office when before I had a very active life involving a lot of travel. So I could relate a lot to this topic, and also I used to work at it more like theoretical from an HR perspective, but now that I have lived, I think I can bring a personal perspective of what this means to us and examples that I have listened from other people.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Maritza. It's going to be, I think it's going to be also great today as it was last week. So I want to ask the audience first, how is our sound? If you can listen to us good, please put our thumbs up and likes there and comment. Where are you from? Where are you listening from? If you're in the States, if you're in the Ecuador, in Guatemala, in Europe, in which countries you are. In Pakistan, I have many followers there. So please comment here on the chat box. So we will be answering all of your questions. So I want to ask the audience first. If you could share your experience of working from home, how has it been in comparison to what it was before, especially for those of you who used to work in an office and with the lockdown are working from home. So while our audience answered that, Maritza, I want to start asking you one thing, and it's, can you tell us what are the sources of stress working from home?
I think that the sources working, like, first of all, before I go into that, I want to say that um, the people that have had a planned transition into home office, actually, they love it. So on our Spanish live session that we had, a lot of people said, like, what stress? What do you mean? I love to work in home office. And
Mhm.
that's mostly the feedback that we get from a lot of the people that actually on an orderly manner, and they have a plan and they had a good setup at home. They actually love it because of the flexibility and the ability that they have to manage their work as the same as their personal life. So I think that is important to start from that
Mhm.
perspective. But now that we have all been forced all of a sudden to become home office workers, and not necessarily we have the best setup. All the family conditions have changed. So I think the sources of stress on the conditions that we have been living for these past 3 months, the first one is the loss of freedom, because we are forced to stay in one place. Before, we could just vary it and we can move from one activity to the other one. And we had the freedom to say, okay, I'm tired of being at home, let me go do something else. So I think that's the biggest thing that I have heard. And I can say, like, those prisoners that they don't have to go to jail, but they stay at home. I think that all of us really experience what that meant for us. So that had a big psychological impact on most of us, of not being able to have the freedom of doing what we used to do. The second thing is the increase in our personal and at work load as such, because a lot of people had to do the schooling for their kids. We had to clean more, we had to arrange more. Just going to the grocery store, we had to do way more than before, like using the mask, disinfecting everything, washing everything, plus the stress that all that involved. So that's the other thing, the additional workload that we had. Then relationships. I think that being 24 hours together, that brought some tension to ourselves and the people that we live with. Either just our families, because before kids go to school, we go to work. So there is that refresher in the middle that didn't happen at this time. So I think that tensions, just because of being 24 hours together, that was another source of stress. And finally, is the external environment. I think that we were bombarded with social media, with TV, and then all the WhatsApps that went back and forth saying the horror stories, because really media sells by focusing in the negative aspect of any topic that we're talking about. And I think that really increased the level of anxiety and fear of getting sick, of scarcity from toilet paper to food and to all this craziness that just went ahead. So the combination of that, loss of freedom, additional work, tension in relationships because of the lack of break, and then the external environment, I think that those were the four main things that all of us were exposed, and people kind of like consistently says, yes, if I have to summarize, those will be the main four.
Yeah, yeah, I completely agree with you. It's been very difficult because, as you were saying in the beginning, when you work from home with having, a guideline how to do it, you have the correct furniture, the correct space, and everything. It's completely different, and you love it. But when you're forced to, and you not necessarily have the tools or the space, or even the quietness that you need sometimes to work because when we were with other people or our loved ones at home, it's sometimes very hard because children might be screaming or yelling or playing or whatever, and you need silence because you're in a meeting, in a conference call or whatever. So yeah, definitely all these. And I want to ask the audience if you want to share some stories that happened to you, that have happened to you during lockdown, working from home. If you have funny stories to share, please do so. And if you can tell us if you're having stress doing home office right now, and taking into account what Maritza just said. And Maritza, I want to ask you, while our audience answers, what are important considerations for companies and individuals to take into account to avoid burnout working from home?
One of the things that is very important is actually the habits that we have as individuals.
Mhm.
I don't know if I can tell my personal experience. All of a sudden, I broke my routine. I did not take enough breaks, and I just keep going all like really straight on the whole day. And then I was exhausted by the end of the day. Maybe my legs were hurting or my back was hurting because I was not sitting properly. Like when you're at an office environment, you get interrupted or you have to walk to the meeting. Well, at home, you're just like focused in one place. And for some reason people forget that there is like the commute time, and they just schedule back to back to back to back meetings. So it just started for me like, funny enough, the whole week will go by here where I live, like the trash truck just comes once a week on Thursdays. And that was the week, the day of the week that I just realized, oh my gosh, a week just went by and I didn't realize. And it was because it was something that it forced me to go outside to take the trash cans out. So it was very easy just to get lost, and like the week will get blurred because there is not that variety. I will cook, I will work, I will go to sleep, I will exercise here. So it just became very monotonous. So I think that when companies are thinking of putting together home office programs, is also understanding how to help people think about how to maintain a good routine that maintains breaks, that maintains mental health activities. It's a type of work arrangement that provides a lot of flexibility. So if we think about hiring, it just opened up a wide variety of possibilities of hiring people around the world or in different states, not having to have a huge investment in infrastructure because people will be working from home. Employees probably have a more flexible schedule, and in many cases, productivity goes up. So, on average, they say that people work about 3 more hours. At least when we were in quarantine, that's something that you shared on our last call. So
Yeah.
that's a reality. People, because instead of being in the car driving from one side to the other one, those become productive hours. So that's perfect. Now, on the other side, things to take into account, if it's people that already have been in the organization more senior, the culture of the company can continue, and you would just have to arrange what are the touch points to maintain the connectivity with people. Because what is the advantage of working on one place? It's just like the informal conversations and the sharing. So that actually is another way to increase productivity. When you don't have that and you don't make that intentional, then that tends to go down. Building the culture, if you have a new company that is just starting out, it will present challenges, and you have to have a very good plan on how to build that and how to build the identity of becoming part of that company. There is many IT startups that they say, okay, how do I imprint the company culture, the work, discipline that we want to have? So those will be kind of the challenges. So there is many advantages, but there is also challenges that companies have to be intentional while managing that. So those are some things that we need to take into account.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And I want to ask the audience, if somebody wants to share their experience with home office, if it has been stressing or if it has, on the contrary, being amazing, please share with us what has been your experience, because it's very interesting to see. For some people, they love normally. Uh, in general, we all love home office. I love home office. I'm an extrovert, so I need contact with people. But for introverts, home office is perfect because you don't need to see anybody, and you just have meetings. But when the meeting is over, that's done. You're done with the people, and that's great. But for all of us that are extroverts and need to have this contact with people, what do you think? How has your experience been? Please share with us. It'd be very interesting. And for those of you who started a bit later and joined us a little bit late, we're talking about stress and home office with Maritza Ulestia, global HR expert, visionary, and progressive leader from Ecuador. Did you know that people spend an average of $10,000 annually in things that are consequences of stress, such as therapists, drugs, compulsive shopping, wine, junk food, etc.? I would like to help you refocus your stress in your favor. I'm evaluating running a virtual retreat to achieve this. So if you're interested, I'm going to leave you my email address and you can write me so we can create a plan that will rock, because it will help you uh, make stress work in your favor. So that's the idea. So Continuing with the conversation, Maritza, I want to ask you, what are the messages that stress tell us, and what can we do to handle them better?
Stress, as any other, I would say, low level or negative emotions, provide us with messages of uh, we're doing something that is not aligned either with our values or our objectives. One of the I would say of the experts that I have heard a lot, and I really like how he explained is Tony Robbins. So I'm going to share some of the ideas that I really am applying in my life, and it's just like negative emotions or stress are actually a great opportunity for us to like sit back and see what am I doing that is not aligned to what I would like to be doing, because we have certain expectations of how we see ourselves. And if we are not aligned to that, those are the messages that we're receiving. So we usually ask ourselves all day long three main questions. And depending on that is where we either increase our stress or we decrease our stress. So the first one is we choose what to focus on. So when we were in quarantine, what happened? What happened to us? I'm just going to make some questions. Did you wake up and you said, oh, another day locked down at home is going to be horrible. I'm not going to be able to go out. I'm just feeling really bad. And then you just find some friends and you just complain a bit more, and you were just kicking the can and said like, okay, you probably didn't take a shower, and said like, oh, whatever. Why am I going to even get dressed? I'm just going to be here at home.
Of course.
So you see, like if you start the day
Can
like that,
somebody relate?
I guess the laugh says yes. So if you start the day like that, probably you're gonna have a pretty crappy day. But if you just say, "Well, another day in quarantine. I know I cannot get out, but I haven't been at home a while. What can I do that I would love to do? Maybe I will test cooking something different. Maybe I'll try to organize something, or maybe I'll just have more time and I'll go sit in my garden and just enjoy the sun and enjoy the garden that I have that I usually don't get time to do it. And really I'm gonna do one thing for myself that is gonna give me a bit of happiness or a bit of pleasure, like eating ice cream or having a bit more time to eat lunch, anything. So if you start the day with that kind of thought process, then you most probably are gonna have a much pleasant day. So that's when I say we choose what to focus on. The other thing that is important is I know that it's very hard to be always in good mood and positive thinking. So one of the things is we can move our body, and that movement, I think that the simplest thing that we need to do is breathe. I have this Apple Watch, and it's funny to see how many times it just alert me. I have this alert that says breathe when it feels that I'm not breathing. So when I get tense, when I get stressed, I forget to breathe. I do that when I'm exercising, when I'm in meetings. So it's just very humorous to me to see that I do that without even noticing. So if we are under high stress, one of the things that we can give ourselves to like really start coming down is to breathe. But when they tell me, okay, have a deep breath, and I'm like, how am I going to do that? It's impossible. So I want to show you a trick. So I'm going to stand up for that. If you put your hands right here on your ribs and you just hold them there, and then you just sit down and you just start breathing, and you just need to do this for 1 minute. If you breathe and you feel like your ribs are kind of like going back and forth, like they're filling with air, if you just really do this intentionally and like you think about it, you're going to start having deep breaths. If you just do this for 1 minute, you're going to see it's like magic. You actually start coming down. If you want to be more adventurous, just do some jumping jacks or just clap or just like do a singing or do something so you move the energy in your body. When you do that, it's like magic. It's like your brain resets and you're able to refocus. So using your body to calm your stress, even if that would be the thing that most people would not think to do, that is very, very effective. So that is how you can regain your focus? And that's one of the questions that I mentioned. The second question is, what's the story that we tell about it? So that's the story that we say, are we telling that it's going to be a horrible day or a better day, or working from home office is horrible, or there is many advantages for that? And then finally is, what are the actions that you take to actually move forward and have the reality that you want? So if you just start noticing those three things we're doing all the time, and whatever we focus our attention, that's probably the reality that we're living. So I have many people that says, how are you? Stressed. Okay, next day, how are you? I'm just super stressed. And then people start like becoming this, stress is the way to be, so you can be cool and you can belong to a certain group. So it's just very interesting that stress can become an addiction and can become an identifier, and we just start to competing who is more stressed, who feels worse, and it just becomes like this revolving like, black hole, where you just start feeling worse and worse, and we just have the all the people that work really hard, that feel stressed, that is low in energy. But it's not necessarily because it has to be like that. And the things that I just mentioned a minute ago is very are some very easy ways to just overcome this. So with this last point that I'm saying, is the people that you surround yourself with is very important. If you are like with the complainers and the stressed out, most probably that's another way to increase your not so well-being for yourself. So just see who you hang around with, see, listen to what you tell yourself, and that can be already a great step to start improving your stress. And this is not just a tip for home office, but for anything that you do in life.
Exactly. Exactly. Especially now that we have the time to reflect upon what we like in our life, what our life has been up to today, and what do we want it tomorrow to be, if we want to continue in the same path we were, or we want to change, or we are forced to change. Because as I've been talking about in all my Facebook live since this pandemic started, is that everybody is like looking forward to go back to normal, but we're not going back to that normal that we knew. We're going moving to a new normal, and that new normal is completely different from what we know, and we still don't understand how it's going to evolve and how we are going to evolve, each of us, in this different way of being and way of living, because the rules of the game change completely everywhere. There's no place that can say
Mhm.
we're living exactly the same. No, not even the places that were more open, in the sense that people weren't necessarily on lockdowns. Even for them, things have changed a lot. So yeah,
Definitely.
I want to share with you some comments. Ame Zavala says, for me, it's been very hard to work on normal schedule because the online classes of my kids. And yeah, that's a challenge. And with some schools are even worse than others. And worse, I'm not saying that the school is being bad. On the contrary, I think all schools have been doing a great job, because they had like this, like in a second, had to change completely the way they did things. So they've been doing an amazing job, the teachers, the schools, and everything. But the thing is, they're trying. So they're trying new things, and sometimes it's a lot of work for the children and for the parents. And sometimes people complain that it's not enough. I don't know. That happy medium, I think we still don't know. This is new for all of us, and we're doing. I think we're trying our best, all of us. So yeah, that's a big challenge, and that's a stressor, and especially if you have children in different ages, because the challenges with each child is completely different. And Marco Fuentes also says, now I value social interaction even more, and I even miss the hateful. All the negative things, of course, because even, like having a discussion with somebody you don't like, you're missing it, because like I need more action. That's so funny. I don't know, guys, if you have more question to Maritza, eh, take advantage that she's here. She's amazing, and she has so much knowledge and so much to share with us, and about home office and stress. And I want to thank you guys of being here and listening to us. And remember, for those of you who started listening to it a bit later, this Facebook Live remains open to the public, so you can share it with other people, or you can watch it later on. And you can comment and ask questions, and we'll be reading them afterwards to see, how we can help and how we can be of service to you all guys. So I don't know, Maritza, if I will wait a little bit if there are more questions, but if you want to say some final words to our audience before we leave.
Yeah, it's just like give yourself the gift of thinking about what do you want, reflect if you have stress, if you see that coming back to uh, being outside, you're wondering what do I do now and how am I gonna confront this? Because I tell you, I have started to go back at work, and it's pretty different. We have to wear masks. Things need to like you need to just follow a lot of paths that you didn't have to follow because of social distances. So it's just a lot of change that we're gonna go through. But I think regardless of COVID, no COVID, we always have to have clarity on what we want. And that is a perfect way to start thinking and to manage. When we have clarity on what we want to do, it's like we re-energize ourselves and we find ways to cope with change, to cope with different situations in a very different way than if we just like following a path. So I say like sometimes we are like this little leaf that falls on a river stream and we just follow along with whatever comes our way. But if we have clarity and we say like this is where I want to redirect, and we have that clarity, it makes a lot of difference. So in my purpose, I am offering some workshops to help people discover their purpose or their value proposition, as well as having a life plan that clarifies where do I want to go, how do I want to continue with my life, depending on, are you starting, are you in the middle of your life, are you like getting ready for retirement, getting ready for getting married, or doing whatever different things that happen in our lives. So if you're interested, just look for my purpose. Ana Stephanie will share the address where you can get, and there is a workshop that is going to be given in Spanish as well as in English. So if you're interested, please send me your information, send me your data, and I'll happy will provide you with some more details.
Excellent, Maritza. Thank you. I already posted your contact info, your website, your email, and your WhatsApp number. So if you want to get in touch with Maritza and join her program either in Spanish or in English, you're more than welcome. I want to thank you guys for being here today, and especially Maritza. It's an honor to have you here and to be in contact again and see what we can do together, because it's amazing, like life has brought us back and we're living in a very, very, very aligned situation right now, both of us. So it's great having you here again, now in English. We did this in Spanish last week, today in English. So thank you, Maritza. Thank you, guys. And as you know, I left Maritza's contact details and my details if you want to contact us. I also will leave you my website if you want to have more information about what I do. It's in Spanish though. So for those of you who are not Spanish speakers, you can send me an email in English, no problem, but the website is in Spanish. So thank you, guys. Have an amazing evening. Have a great weekend and see you soon. Bye, everybody.
Bye.